Thanks for coming. I'll just open it up for any questions for you.
Go ahead. Front row, Bill.
Urban, you vote in the coaches poll. Can you share where you have Ohio State and what your top 5 is and why?
I have Ohio State in the top 5. I believe we have Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State. I'm trying to think right now. You caught me off surprise. So it's who was that? Stanford or Baylor. I can't really remember which one. Yeah.
What's your rationale?
I had us 2 all year. And I just think we're playing like a top team, one of the top teams in the country right now.
Is it uncomfortable to kind of be in a situation of your vote has an influence of where you could end up?
Is it uncomfortable?
Yeah.
No, I just, at times I don't get to watch everybody. So it sometimes puts you in a hard position. This last week I did get to watch everybody. There's some very good teams in the country, and I believe we're a very good team.
That's okay, man. It's not a letter of intent, but you can deal with the kid on a full-time basis, and yet it's not binding for him. What do y'all get out of that more than anything else?
I mean, that is a bizarre rule that came out of right field, and that means that a mid-semester, a mid-year guy, you're allowed to go meet with him. You're allowed to announce it publicly, and I don't know the rationale. I mean, I don't remember voting on this. I don't remember any conversation, and we might have, and I'm not sure the rationale.
Yeah, but yes, I'm gonna say the benefit is only that you can be with.
Oh no, there's a huge benefit. You're allowed to text them. You're allowed to talk to them. You're allowed to. I mean, I saw the list. I was like, "Are you?" I mean, I argued with our compliance guy. I said, "There's no way they're allowed to do that." And then, sure enough, we are. So you're allowed to go meet with them. Unlimited contacts. Think about that.
Yeah.
So you have unlimited. So there is a ridiculous benefit. But the way I understand it too is that they can still go somewhere else if it's in a different conference. But I don't know.
Another quick follow. Braxton. We talked to you about him a little bit last week. The last time he went to Illinois, threw the ball one time, or completed one pass to Jake Stoneburner. How much further along is he in that regard? But do you always go into, when you go into Illinois, you almost have to have 2 game plans based on, you don't know what the wind's going to be like that day?
It's been a while since I've been there. I think that's many times you play in this part of the country that you have to be prepared for that. I can assure you that we're in a much different place than we was 2 years ago, and I can see that. I mean, Braxton would be the first one to tell you. Braxton, at this point last year, we weren't real fired up at times throwing the ball. If you remember against Wisconsin, that was. But it's a whole different. We're in a completely different mindset. I have complete confidence in both our quarterbacks and our guys behind them. I mean, excuse me, and the guys catching the passes. So it's apples and oranges, completely different scenario.
Third row, middle, David.
Urban, before the year, you talked about Jack Meyer as one of the top leaders you've ever had. Now, as he kind of approaches the last few weeks of his career here, has he lived up to that billing? And I guess how have you seen him grow?
Jack Meyer has turned himself into a definite high-level pro prospect. He's one of the best leaders I've been around. He's a tough guy that I like to think that people would say that Ohio State's a tough program, and he's kind of the benchmark. Our strength coach has great respect for him for the way he handles his business all the way around, and he's certainly lived up to his expectation level, maybe a little bit more, which is expectation level is very high.
Front row right, Austin.
Urban, it seemed like Curtis Grant and Joshua Perry both had maybe minor issues leaving the Purdue game. Is everything okay with both of those guys?
Josh Perry had surgery on a dislocated finger. He practiced full speed today, practiced all last week too, so he's fine. He's just in a little bit of a splint right now. What was the other name? Curtis Grant did not practice today. We expect him back tomorrow. And his was ankle sprain and low back, but he should be ready to go by tomorrow.
During preseason and even throughout this year, you pointed the linebackers as the group that maybe had the furthest to go to get to that Ohio standard. Is it because of the depth behind these guys, or are the starters giving you about what you would want?
Ryan Shazier is starting to play at a very high level, which we expected. Early in the season, he was not. He's playing at a pretty good level right now. It's just the depth, and I like the fact Curtis Grant has played pretty good. Still not Ohio State standard because he's been banged up a little bit in his first year playing, but he's been very adequate at that position. We need more though, and he's going to give us more. And Josh Perry has been developed recently. He started the season, is nowhere near what we expect from Ohio State linebacker, but his last few weeks of practice and certainly in the games has played very well. The depth is a major concern. We're nowhere near where we need to be as far as the expectation level of the linebacker play here. When you think of the great linebackers that have, arguably the last decade, as good a linebackers ever in the country have played at Ohio State, and we need to get back to that.
Front row left, Rusty.
Herbert, what were your impressions of the games that you saw? What did you think of Alabama and LSU? And particularly, did you get a chance to see Michigan, Nebraska, maybe?
I did watch a lot of football. Like I said, I think there's some very good teams out there, and I really enjoyed watching the Oregon-Stanford game. Two very good teams. I saw Alabama, LSU, excellent teams. I thought I watched some of the Baylor, Oklahoma. So I watched a lot of, as much as I could get my hands on football. And like I said, just what's our impression? My impression is, like I said, that Alabama, LSU, that was high-level football, and so was Oregon, Stanford. And so just got a lot of respect for those teams.
Real quick follow-up also, how difficult is it this week to get players to concentrate on an 0-5 team that's 0-5?
No issue whatsoever. This is a very invested team, and I'm watching that. I'm just telling you, as of Monday, no issue whatsoever. I mean, there'll be a bomb go off if I start to see that, or we all start to see that, because that means they're not. This is a very invested team. Invested teams don't. This is all about. Tomorrow we're going to really get after it. So.
Back row left, Kevin.
Coach, I want to touch upon the mid-year signings as well that Tim brought up. You said you're allowed to acknowledge these players. Are you allowed to speak on them as if they're signees on Curtis Samuel, Marcellus Jones? And if so, can you speak on them a little bit? And then do you see?
I don't want to screw that up. I'm going to pass on that, because it has nothing to do with us winning this next game. And I might make I made stupid errors before. So I think that's what the rule says.
Do you see this maybe as a concession to the people that have been really pushing for a second signing period in home
No,
field?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I have no idea who comes up with it. I have no idea.
Front row, Lori.
Coach, kind of jumping off Tim's question, I know you spend enough time scouting the upcoming opponent, but how much time in advance work do you spend on the game conditions? Do you have
Oh,
studies?
a lot. Absolutely. It's going to be 50 degrees, and we already know the forecast on I get it every day, exactly what we're expecting weather-wise for that game. So, that's a big part of it, every week.
What do you know about Illinois?
I coached at Illinois State for 2 years, visited Champaign many times. When I was a graduate assistant here, we played there one time. Big time stadium, I remember that, but it's been a while. So, we got to be prepared for getting Illinois' best shot. They've played some pretty good football as of late. Certainly offensively, the quarterback's leading the league in throwing. They took Penn State to overtime, and then they put on a lot of points. I think 600 yards on this last game. So, a very good punt returner. So I know a lot about Illinois.
Second row middle, Dave.
You talk about wanting an angry team, Coach. Do you feel like you have an angry team? Is it easy to have an angry team right now when you have people saying you'd be on the outside looking in, despite the fact that you guys are undefeated? And just what's kind of the mindset of the team right now?
I think so. I think that's we use that a little bit, and we also I like the term right now, invested. I couldn't say that last year because I don't know. This is a very invested team, so I know those are two little different words, but very similar. Basically you're locked in as a team and you're focused on the next task, and that's what this team is right now.
Frustrating at all, or you let yourself even?
No, we've and I just told those guys I've been in this situation before, and just you have nothing to do with nothing other than get ready to go play, because there's so much football to be played.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, just real quick, the one pass completion game 2 years ago, did you watch that game? I don't know, at the time, or have you seen any film of it since? Or what do you think of the idea of the team winning the game?
Yeah, I heard of that. Win the game however you can. I don't know the conditions, and I know you had a young quarterback and a fairly non-functional group of wideouts. So I would imagine you're going to do what we did, run the quarterback a lot. Do what you got to do to walk out of there with a win.
When you think of it, last year you guys were undefeated. Right now you're undefeated. How do you compare your team right now to the team last year? Are you a better team?
We're a better team. We're a better functioning team. I don't want to ever disrespect our seniors because they were such an incredible group of players, and they're really good players too. So we're just more functional, certainly in offense. On defense, we're not quite. I'm not sure we're quite as good. You remember this time last year is when we hit the accelerator and we played excellent defense. We are playing. I understand we're top 10 in the country in defense and rushing defense, total defense, and scoring defense. That's pretty good with replacing 9 starters. So. We are getting a little better on defense. Comparing the teams last year, I think that's interesting conversation, but we're just more functional, certainly on offense. We're much better on offense than we were a year ago. Defensively, so I'm not sure. And special teams were much better this year.
Block punts on last guy that you were dealing with last year. It seems like you're not making mistakes on special teams.
No. If you look at our punt teams had the same players on it every week. And last year was like, we didn't know the guys, and the guys were getting hurt, and guys weren't good enough, and we're just performing much higher level.
And you've talked about that leadership last year a lot. I know that was a concern coming into this year. How has that part of it worked out, knowing that it was so good last year? How does that compare?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. That's something I continue to evaluate. And I think we had an outside company join us. Tim Kite's crew came in and taught the leadership workshop. A lot of time spent on it through spring, summer, and then we actually did it during training camp. So I'd grade it a very plus right now. There's some purpose-driven players that are leaders, and that's what you want on a team, and I see it.
Back row left, Matt.
At this stage of the year with, BCS standings and playing for Big Ten title, is there any more emphasis on how you win games and, quote-unquote style points, or is it still just win the football game?
It's win the game, but it's the message is you have to play great. We do. I mean, you're held up really high to be even, mentioned with those other teams. That's be careful what you wish for. That means you have to practice and play at a certain level. And so that's all I mentioned to our team. I mean, we practiced at a very, very high level today. And I expect them to play. We all expect them to play. They expect to play at a very high level because you're in the same breath with some very, very good teams. And to maintain that status, you have to play very well, very well.
Last 2 questions. Far right, Clay.
Illinois' talent level has been pretty good over the last 10, 15 years. What's their breakdown? They're on an 0-19 Big Ten streak.
Yeah, I think offensively, it's certainly not on offense right now. I think defensively they're still trying. They're going through. They're going through some growing pains, I guess would be the appropriate. Just what I see on film. What I see on offense is an explosive offense. 600 yards and then leading passer in Big Ten conference right now. So in special teams are pretty good. So I think right now they're just trying to find their way a little bit on defense.
Throw in one more here. Pat Shun said he met with you last week just to talk about a profile for his head coach. Did his profile match any guys you have on your staff?
Oh, sure.
Did you ever get specific about?
We did. We talked about names, and I have Pat's a great friend. I have a lot of respect for Pat, and there's nothing more I like to see Pat Shun be successful. He's also very respectful this time of year for us, so we certainly want. I think the number one thing is he wanted. We talked about a profile because that's a unique place. And I lived in Florida, and that pocket, that's a very, very unique recruiting place. And so that's mostly what we talked about is, first of all, the profile of a coach, and then someone with that, to just go dive into South Florida recruiting, that's not a place you want to dive into unless you've been there before.
So he gave you a list?
What's that?
He gave you a list?
We went through some names, sure.
Glad to see.
Yeah.
How many?
You pull the plug on him? Just take it out of the socket.
Real quick, update on him.
Yeah, he's good. He practiced today. We kept him on a full contact. Tomorrow's full contact. Should be ready to go.
You guys are off last week, and you come back weekend one step closer to where you want to be. Just what was sort of the message to the team and maybe the reaction?
Well, the good thing is the message was this, is that we gave them four 24-hour segments off. And they were a fairly fine conditioned team when they left. So the panic button is with me is that we really ran them today. And to just go out and run without explaining what we're doing, especially when you have an intelligent team like this, so the whole message was, let's get back to where you were a week ago, Wednesday. And that's really the whole message. And then we talked about the nation, the BCS, the State of the Union that we do every week, and that's it. And then our job is to play, once again, I mentioned the previous question, is that, do we have to win with style point? No, you have to play great, though, or you'll no longer be in that same breath with those other teams.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you, guys.